Good afternoon. I'm your host, Suzanne Roberts, author of It's Deeper Than That, and founder of The Great Reconnection. And I'm so excited to have here today with us and with me, Becca Apfelstadt. And Becca, thank you for being here and taking your time to join our listeners today.
You're so welcome, Suzanne. It's always a pleasure to see you.
You too. Thank you. Becca, I'd love for you to talk about the evolution of your journey as a business owner, as a driven executive, and what you've learned along the way.
Well, that goes back pretty young. I started in the advertising world and marketing at the age of 17 and was an intern and rose my way up to vice president of that agency, same one that I interned at. After college, continued working there, had several different positions. And at 27, got the harebrained idea that that would be a good time to start out on my own and created my own business called Tree, started my own agency. And it was really a bootstrapped from the dining room table. I had a co founder. We knew that we wanted to prove that we could do this, but we didn't really have much of a plan or idea of how exactly to do it. A lot of people thought we were crazy. I sometimes think we should have thought we were crazier and been a little more intimidated by the process, but we just went for it. And what started really as kind of a 6-month experiment to see if we could make a go of it turned into this lasting, successful, beyond my wildest imagination company with this culture and these people and clients and the work that just felt like we were on a rocket ship. And I led Tree for 15 years and worked with incredible people. We built a wonderful roster of clients with a very unique positioning to serve them in a special projects capacity. I enjoyed building the environment and the team, and along the way, got less excited about the work part, like the marketing side of things, and more excited about leading and just setting direction and vision for the organization. And I started having babies. The business grew and grew and grew as my family grew. And my husband's also an entrepreneur. So we were pretty much and still are chickens running around with our heads cut off. And we adopted a baby, our third. And this was in 2022. And when little Henry came along, I just had this couple of moments where I was very much aware that if I didn't stop this train from going down the tracks professionally in a big way, I was going to miss this little guy's early years the way that I did in a large way my older children. And that's a deep regret I have. I had our oldest son, emergency C-section. He was a preemie. I took 6 weeks off, 8 weeks maybe. He was the equivalent of a 2-week-old baby when I went back to work. Did everything I could to hold it all together, but the business was like doubling and tripling. And I mean, we grew like 10 times in 3 years and during that period when he was really little. I would sometimes go meet people for coffee while he was still asleep and then get home after he had already gone to bed. And we had a wonderful nanny, and I was, building this for us and very determined. And I should do this because I have this opportunity and I owe it to all these women to prove that we can do it. And I missed stuff, and our daughter came along, and at that point my business partner had decided to exit, and so we were going through the evolution and transition for her to depart, and I was hiring to fill her role, which is impossible because she's the co-founder, but doing our best to figure out what to do and how to move the company forward. And more growth happens, and it's another opportunity where I'm kind of like feeling the sand slip between my fingers. So we adopt Henry, and the economic environment then was tough, and I had just kind of it had lost its luster over COVID. And I tried so hard to like find my mojo with work again and be excited about it in new ways. But something fundamentally in me had changed too over those 15 years. I went from being a single 20 something year old to a middle aged woman with children and a family and a whole different perspective on life. And I really had to evaluate how I could give my kids a version of me that they deserved and meet a version of me that I hadn't yet, that I just hadn't stopped long enough to say, hi, how are
Mm.
you? You know, like what's going on in there? Are you okay? Are we good? Like, what do you want to do? There's this whole big world out there. What do you want? I had
Mm.
just gone so fast down the track of this is what I'm supposed to do. I have these opportunities. Achieve, 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 achieve. Task, task, task. To do, to do, to do. I was like on jet fuel, 100 miles an hour, getting so much praise for that. And I was exhausted. And I held this little baby who I knew was going to be my last. Like I knew, this is our little caboose. And it's so important with any baby, but you adopt a child at infancy and attachment and just really making sure there's that time to bond. And I'm sitting here on my maternity leave, solving work problems and going, this just isn't, it's still not right. I built the big thing and it's still not right. Like it wasn't, like so I just had to get really honest with myself and become comfortable disappointing people, which was not my forte. And it was very quick once I made the decision. Um, and I think that was important for me because I think I would have probably backslid or talked myself out of it if I hadn't just kept going quickly. And also, it needed to be fast because you only get how many months with a baby as a baby and a toddler as a toddler and a 7 year old as a 7 year old and a 9 year old as a nine. My children were very young still and needed things.
So when you said it happened really fast, you're saying you made a decision to sell the business.
I made a decision to sell the business, and that whole process happened much more quickly than a lot of transactions typically do. I was able to sell to somebody that I already knew and had a relationship with, and trust with, and had worked with for a long time through a peer group, a CEO peer group, and we were able to work out the details quickly. And then, I transitioned out rather fast. It wasn't like I wanted to be around for 3 to 5 years, and I wanted to go home and be a mom and figure out what was next. And that whole process too is full of emotions and pride and ego and a lot of, at least I had a lot of concern. What's the public gonna think? What is everybody in the business community, my friends, my clients, my colleagues, what are they all gonna think? And how do I make this an easy transition for my team? I was very concerned about them. And I remember this one day where I was I was really struggling with some part of the way something was written in the deal. And I was trying to like fight for it to be better for my team, um, or more advantageous to them in a way that might have even made it worse, for me and my family. And I was so hung up on like, but they've done so much, but they've done so much, but they've, like they deserve, and I don't want to disappoint. And I walked up this staircase in our home, which is the switchback stairs, and from floor to ceiling, there's a gallery wall all the way up, 2 stories of our family photos over the years. And it's my grandparents' wedding picture to us getting married and dating and the kids and cousins coming in and aunts and uncles. We've got a huge extended family, travels, goofy stuff. It's so fun. And it's the thing that you see right when you walk in our home. It's always a conversation starter. And I was walking up the stairs, and all those photos struck me very differently in that moment as I'm going through my head about, I should be adjusting the deal to take less opportunity for myself and give more, to the team in some way. And I had this moment where I just looked around and I was like, God, Becca, they are not on this wall. And I am not on their walls where their family photos hang. As important as I had made this business, as central as I had made it to my life and my identity and my core, and wrapped my whole world up in being its leader and co founder and owner, not a single photo on the wall. And I had a lot of them was with this group of people, and that really stuck with me as a reminder that like the ones who really matter, it's the people in our four walls, the five of us. And I needed to make some big change to create a better feeling inside our own home and inside of me. So that's what I've done in the last 2 years. It'll be 2 years at the end of this month.
That you sold the business.
Hmm.
When you were walking up the stairs and you have reported that you were exhausted and no longer had juice or excitement for what you were doing, did you understand in that moment what you were calling for inside of yourself?
No, I think I mislabeled it a little bit as that I just needed to be done. I was just done being a professional contributor. And I was like gonna completely, bake bread and hang out with the kids and read books and maybe write. I mean, writing has always been um, something that's been on my heart and mind. I have some ideas for books and a newsletter and all kinds of things that I want to do to write more. So, that was definitely in the cards. I didn't have anything in particular in mind. It was like, I just need to stop. I just have to like get off the treadmill. And I don't know what I'm going to do next. If I'm going to do anything next, for all anyone knew, I was retiring. And if that's where it had ended up, I would have been fine. But a few months in, and it's like I start to get that little whisper again of, you got more in you.
But
And I went,
can I ask you a different kind of question?
please, yeah.
Because I'm hearing that um, you missed and regret missing your kid's life in a certain way, but did you also miss yourself?
Yes, I did. I didn't know her.
And were you able, when you stopped, to take some time to get to know her?
Yes, that's been a big part of this journey.
Is stepping out of Becca, the um, business owner who can um, grow a huge business and be successful and build a culture and build a team and do something unimaginable,
Hmm.
and yet who's Becca, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And what would you say you would want for people looking back, someone who's an entrepreneur who's building a big business or building something? What would you recommend to them to how to stay connected to themselves while they're doing it so they don't end up exhausted or losing themselves?
I think that it's important to have moments where you're checking in and you're exercising any no that emerges. If it's not that what I've heard so many reference the full body yes, then it's a no. I just had to do this today. Some interesting people that I've been talking to put a proposal or an RFP in front of me and said, we'd love for you to help with this. And I'd like to help them. But what they put in front of me, I just had to say, like, this isn't interesting to me at all. It's not what I do anymore. It's not like this isn't the best, you're not going to get the best fire out of me. That doesn't light me up. And it's hard to disappoint people, but I have to listen to that. Like, first time I opened the email, like, ooh, that's not a good fit. And old Becca would have found a way to still serve them and uh, figure out a package or a way to, soften the blow or make it so I could still help in some way, or, you know, provide another resource, or have you thought of? And this conversation was very easy. It was, you got the wrong person. Like, I'm not it.
So,
And that's growth to me,
mhm.
of knowing, like, of honoring Becca is not lit up by that performing version of me who felt the need to make everyone else get what they needed, would have overextended and overburdened myself with time and lack of sleep and energy and losing focus on other things and family, and not, like, not being able to be at all the things because I had this extra project that I was justifying. And now the answer is just no.
I
In a
love,
way,
sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say, in a way that I didn't have as much peace about inside before. I would have to exercise that in the past, but I would carry it with me. And I'm just much more at peace going, nope.
I really appreciate what you're saying because it sounds to me like there are historical patterns or habits around people pleasing and not disappointment and not considering self and
Yes,
sacrificing self and not considering what lights you up, not considering what needs you have with your family. And
absolutely.
when those things rule, I mean, you're
Mhm.
still ambitious and you still want to work. You're working again. So we can talk about that in just a minute. But what I'm hearing changing is that you're not being ruled by historical patterns as you're leading. So it's
I
not,
am
yeah.
I am trying mighty hard to keep them at bay, because I mean, any pattern or habit that's ingrained, it's like the well-worn path between two houses that the kids are walking behind. I mean, if there's a big amount of brush to walk through and one area is gone through, it's going to be easier to take that path rather than go through the prickly bushes. I'm trying very hard to be comfortable running through the prickly bushes, knowing that when I get through that, it's better,
Great.
and not just going through the smooth area that I've, you know, pushed over so many years.
So, how are
And
you balancing ambition at this point with self care and love of family and love of self?
it's a constant conversation. My husband and I are in a process of trying to figure out what this looks like, because he has to participate in that too, because we have both had this full throttle kind of lifestyle, and both entrepreneurs and both very ambitious. And we've never had a typical 9 to 5 corporate job where someone else wrote us a paycheck ever in our lives. We both have been entrepreneurs from the beginning. So it's a very different tone when we start to say, okay, what are we gonna take away? We have just added and added and added and added and
Mm.
added and added and added and added. And it's like the plate that was set between us as a married couple never got any bigger. We just kept piling
Well,
everything higher and higher. And we're going, hey, are you over there? How you doing? Like, can you hold my hand? Because, like, I can't reach you. There's just all this
mm,
stuff. It's a huge mountain. So that's what we're working together on to unpack, because I can change inside, but if we don't practically change how we practice our day and how we build in intentional space with each other and with the children, and that we decide what the pace is and how that's going to be different than what it has been, and I don't have his support, collaboration, and buy-in, then I feel like I might as well just sing kumbaya in the shower by myself. It
mhm.
just doesn't work, because we are a 5-person team,
I
and
love that.
it has to be filtered throughout. It can't just be me. I think I have created the momentum around that conversation, and I have had the desire so deep that it's been like, I will continue to fight for this conversation to be had and to be taken as seriously as everyone will give me a chance because it's that important. And that's taken me having the time to slow down and listen inside to like what needs to change. And it's not just spending more time with the kids because that can be being in the same house with them, but running around and just doing chores and you're not actually enjoying them. You know, it's like it's more for me about learning how to be present
Hmm.
um, and stay there and not have the sway of all the things, you know, so easily distract me.
That requires deep listening, commitment to that which is life giving versus life taking, and making conscious choice every step of the way.
Yeah, and there's going to be some rebuilding of choices, like
Yes.
you're saying, but like how we live, what we do, what we don't do, what we say yes to, what we say no to. I mean, we have had to really look at the way our calendar looks. You know, you can't say you want to slow down and then have our calendar. Like it's ridiculous,
Yeah.
you know?
Like you
So I'm
said,
trying.
you said before, there's such a reward for hustle and sacrificing yourself. It gets so rewarded in our world, and it's so unhealthy, So
Yes.
it is so unhealthy. I think Forbes has an article that 66% of the workforce experiences burnout, and that's so sad. It's like
I I believe it would probably be
be
higher
higher.
if
Yeah,
everybody is really honest
I agree.
and if you're able to tap into like what you're really feeling and not just living on autopilot. Because
Yeah,
who are the other people that are
yeah,
aren't in that?
totally. How long was it before when you sold your business that you started um, this new business? And would you share
Uh,
what this new business is?
Sure. I'm right now I'm doing some consulting and advisory work with founders of service-based businesses. So I'm helping people who own like people-based businesses. It could be a interior designer, an architecture firm, an agency, a marketing firm, anything in professional services. And they are having what I call success problems. You know, they're not at the very beginning trying to get everything going and bootstrapping. It is like they've hit a certain amount of success, and now the business is requiring things of them and of their heart and soul and life and time and resources that they may be starting to resent their company. And I want to help come alongside founders as an ally who's been there and can help sort out how do we not lose you in this? And how
Love
also
that.
can we have practical changes in the business that maybe I can shine a light on something they just haven't seen that in that way before or thought of that can be a catalyst for things being easier or less overwhelming or you know change pricing and that changes the pace or the need to be so spastic with business development. You know, I've worked with female founders where we spend a lot of time on worth and them just getting comfortable with charging what they're worth and them being okay when they hit certain financial goals, realizing that it's their money and they don't have to just keep it in the business checking account. In fact, that's the worst place for it. You know, just giving a little encouragement and smack on the head sometimes to go, wait, what are you doing? You know, at least earn interest on that. Come on. Um, and it's so rewarding to give all of these amazing minds who are working so hard in overdrive all the time for their teams, for the company, a place to unmask. You know, they can come into my space and we can talk about whatever the heck, imposter syndrome, the fear, the year ahead, the weird economy, the comment that a neighbor made at a party that was devastating about their identity, or that whatever it is, the HR issue that's looming, the person that's a problem, how the business is impeding on their marriage or their relationship in some way. I mean, It's not therapy, but I've had a lot of people say it sure feels therapeutic.
That's beautiful. I
Yeah.
feel like you're giving to people what you found for yourself that you also wish you had had.
Yes. And I found it through multiple providers, and not many of them had also, or any of them probably, that I, now that I can think about it, um, maybe one or two had the experience of building and sustaining their own company at a certain level for a certain amount of time. And I think that perspective is different from what you might get from a coach who who has lots of great experience but hasn't actually done it, hasn't
Mhm.
actually sat at the dining room table and then had dozens of employees and a big payroll number to hit and sustain that year after year. It's a different um, there's a different set of advice that can come from somebody who's had that true experience themselves.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
then helping them find a way to stay connected to themselves and lighten the pressure.
Yes, lighten the pressure and see the sparkle.
Mhm.
I think I've been able to help a couple of founders in particular find areas of their business that are really unique that they were kind of overlooking and not
Mm.
realizing were very marketable or very good points of difference to lean on and stand a whole thing up around. And so we've been able to change positioning, and that's come with premium pricing and a lot less of a rat race around business development, um, and and then also a an expertise and a confidence and an authority that puts them on this whole other trajectory where they're now in conversations that are way more exciting and fulfilling and interesting than where they were before with the previous type of work they were selling. So I think
Amazing.
I have a gift at being able to pluck out like, no, you're really good at this. Like I think you're not giving this enough credit about how special it is that you and your business and your team can do this. And that's something people need and want. And I have the marketing and storytelling background too to say, okay, now here's how we take that and then put it out there. Like
That's
this is how
great.
we tell that story.
That's amazing. We're going to have to begin to wind down.
Okay.
Uh, I do want to ask my favorite question. What do you think the purpose for life is?
Love.
Great. And Becca, if people wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do that?
My website is letitroar.com, and I'm on Instagram as well at the same handle, letitroar.com.
Thank you. And what's a parting wisdom you'd like to leave our listeners today?
At the end of the day, it's you and your family, but mostly you, that have to be okay with the decisions you're making, the way you're living, the behaviors you have, the values you hold. And you know if you're living in alignment with that or not. And if you're not in any way, there's time.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here today. This was fascinating to listen to. I'm
Thank you.
Suzanne Roberts, your host of Purpose for Life podcast, author of It's Deeper Than That, and the founder of The Great Reconnection. Thank you for joining us, listeners, and we'll be back with you again. Thank you.